Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 from my bookshelf. And with me today is my co-host, Janine Kakmar, Head of Public Services at Palos Heights Library. Janine, I'm in front of my bookshelf. Where are you at right now?
I'm at the library. Actually, the library building is still closed for Tier 3 restrictions, but we still have a lot of curbside services we're offering. The building is, we have staff inside the building, and we are filling up the holds that people, when you call to order books or people order their own books, they'll pull up from the library and we'll run them out to them when they're ready. And so we do have a lot of services we're still doing. We also can still do curbside printing, scanning, copying, and faxing as well.
Good. So they have access to the library in a variety of ways, and they can still get the books they want to read.
Right. You can still get books. You can still drop your books off. It's all curbside. So it's actually kind of nice because, you don't really want to get out in this weather, but we'll be happy to run them out to you. So, and
Wonderful.
People are calling us and can still have reference questions over the phone and through our chat, through our website, and answering any tax questions, getting tax forms, that kind of stuff. That's all can still be done. So it's curbside pickup. So it's very nice still.
Well, it's great that you're still able to provide all those services.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, on this show today, we're going to take a look at books that Janine and I are going to be recommending from a variety of categories. We each chose 3 different categories, and we're going to share the book titles from those categories with you. At the end of the show, we're going to take a few minutes to recommend some books that are not on our shelves yet, but might be on our shelves soon. So here we go. Janine, you're going to go first. I think you chose the category, a book with memorable characters. And what title do you have for us?
Well, Dave, I picked a book I just read this year. It came out in 2020, Deacon King Kong by James McBride. James McBride is a National Book Award winner. He won it for the Good Lord book, Good Lord Bird, that came out in 2013. But his new book came out last year to 2020, and it's full of diverse characters from all over, from Puerto Rico. We have African Americans, Italians, the Irish, the strange, the rich, the poor, the insane, and mobsters. We have characters with memorable names like the Elephant, a deacon named Sportcoat, a loyal friend named Hot Sausage, and a nun known as Sister Bum Bum. And they all get the spotlight in this comedy that takes place in the 1960s New York housing project. Well, it's actually a dark comedy. I don't want to, it's got some serious parts to it too. But McBride tells a story about a community and its little worn down church and how it can provide a center that keeps things from completely falling apart in their area, their neighborhood. And it's told with insight and a lot of wit. This book had me laughing out loud sometimes. And it shows both the beauty and the ugliness of humanity. And it demonstrates that love and faith live in all of us. So colorful characters, a great story.
It sounds like a fun read, interesting and fun, entertaining.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's as colorful as the cover is that we're looking at.
Okay, so there's our first good book for you. The second one is a category from the award-winning, in this case, author Paulette Giles. She was nominated for a National Book Award in 2017. She was a finalist for News of the World, which some of you may be familiar with that title.
Yeah.
It was turned into a movie starring Tom Hanks. And, in April of 2020, she came out with this book, Simon the Fiddler. I read both books. I liked them. I really liked them both. Janine, you recommended both of them to me.
Yeah, they're good stories for the, out west,
Yeah, I think they're relatively short. I think they're fast reads. And, you mentioned the West. This book is set in Texas at the very end of the Civil War and a little bit beyond that. And the setting in some ways is definitely part of the story. And she does a great job creating that atmosphere. But mainly the story tells the adventures of Simon the Fiddler and his partners as they kind of move around playing their interesting band, playing together in different locations. Simon eventually meets an Irish immigrant named Doris, who has a 3-year contract to serve Union Colonel Webb. And so she's stuck in that contract when Simon meets her, but he falls in love with her. And so the story is kind of driven by those two forces, him and his fiddling and his attempts to connect with Doris. I thought the story was incredibly interesting, captivating. I mean, I cruised through this book, and I think I actually liked it a little bit better than News of the World.
Oh, I don't know. I read both of those as well. They're both very good. News of the World is great. They're making it's in the movies now. We'll see how that one turns out. But yeah, they're both great. They're great stories, great characters, and it's great setting. So
Yeah, it could fall into that other category as well. Next category, Janine, you were going to work with a book that was a suspense or thriller.
yeah, The Red Lotus by Chris Bojalian. This author, New York Times bestseller, he's always on my radar as far as reading. Whenever he has a new book out, I'm excited about it. He's just as good as a historical fiction writer. For those of you who might know him from The Sandcastle Girls, I mean, he's written numerous books. And even as his thrillers, he wrote The Flight Attendant that came out a couple of years ago. It's now out on HBO, showing right now. But in this book, The Red Lotus, Bojalian tells a twisting story of love and deceit. This American man is on vacation with Alexis, the main character. He vanishes on a bike ride out when he's riding out in the countryside in Vietnam. And she is left to find out what really happened. And what appeared to be maybe a tragic hit and run slowly descends into something much more wicked and far-reaching. And as the more she investigates what happened, the more lies are exposed, and she has to find out, what all is going on. It's a global thriller. And it's the high tension suspense with very relevant dangers, talking about biohazards and pandemics. So it kind of really fit in with 2020.
It sounds like a fast read.
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's good. Any book by Chris Bojalian, I'd highly recommend.
Okay, good. All right, so suspense thriller. There you go. There's a good one. For me, the next category I picked to work from was books that might cause you to rethink how you think about something. And I'm working with a nonfiction titled here, Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. She's the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for a book she wrote a few years ago called The Warmth of Other Suns. That book is about the migration of Black people from the South to northern and western cities from, like the 1950s to 1970. In Caste, she explores how racism in the United States functions as a part of a caste system we have. She draws on parallels to the caste systems of India and Germany during Nazi rule. This book is very well researched, includes many specific examples of things people have endured living within a caste system, and at times specifically related, of course, to racism. And while she discusses caste in the US, India, and Nazi Germany, she also looks at the racism in the US and its impact and its impact on the origin and developments of the US caste system, how racism was part of that. She includes stories from regular people, their experiences. She includes some of her own experiences. So if you're willing to take a chance, this is a great book that might cause you, in this case, to rethink about issues related to race and caste.
Yeah, books like these that come along that make you or help you to walk in the shoes of somebody else to really get an idea of what other people's lives are like really can have such an incredible effect on yourself and how you see things in the world. So very important book and a very good read. I read both of her books and they were wonderful too. So
that's an interesting, but this is a very readable book, even though the topic sounds very heavy. She writes it so that everybody can connect with the experiences of the people she's talking about.
Definitely very readable. Right. So next book.
We're going to talk about an inspirational title.
Yeah, and I know you folks, you've seen my other book shows, and I talk about this book many times, and I'm going to talk about it again. I think because it's definitely a book that's also caused me how to rethink things, especially during this past year we've had with such stress and pressures and ungodly things happening. And it's a book by the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And they have survived more than 50 years of exile and soul-crushing violence throughout their life. And yet, despite their hardships, they would say, because of them, they are two of the most joyful people on this planet. And these two spiritual giants get together for 5 days, and they're trying to answer one question. They want to look back at their long lives and answer this question: how do we find joy in the face of life's inevitable suffering? So that's what they really look at through this book. And the author also carefully balances both their strong voices during their conversations, discussing the obstacles of joy, like, fear and adversity, and ways to work with them by using what they call their 8 pillars of joy: perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. All great things to think about and work in our lives. So yes, I've talked about this book before. I'm going to talk about it again. It's a gift to you, and I give it as gifts to everybody else. So read it, share it, love it.
It is a great gift book. I will say I listened to it in audio, but I liked it so much and wanted to revisit parts of it. Got the book just to be able to reread sections of it.
Yeah,
It's that kind of book. You can read it and then revisit it and revisit it, I think.
yeah, it's one of my favorites.
A great inspirational book. The next category we're going to take a look at is historical fiction. For me, I picked my probably all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite authors, and that's Bernard Cornwell. And this book is Warlord. It's actually the 13th book in a 13-book series, so the final installment in his Saxon Tales. It covers British history, pre-British history, from the late 800s to the 900s. England does not exist yet. It primarily focuses on the adventures of a character named Uhtred, who is a warrior, a great character. He serves King Alfred, who and his descendants over the course of the series are fighting to unite the various kingdoms of the country into what will eventually become England, and then maybe someday, Britain. But first, let me say, when I chose this book, I didn't look for a book about something about England in the 800s or 900s. That was not, I picked the book because Bernard Cornwell wrote it. And I've read almost every other historical fiction series he's written, and this is his latest series, and I really liked it. This book is part of the series that you may have heard of, The Last Kingdom. It was turned into a TV series, and The Last Kingdom is actually the title of the first series, or the first book in the series.
Yeah.
So you could read the books separately, independently, but I just think they're so good. Start with book 1 and eventually finish up with Warlord.
And watch the series on TV. It's
Yes.
excellent. And Uhtred is a great character. Yeah, it is a lot of war and fighting, but they were so great. They're just great drama also, family dramas, that kind of thing. It's a great.
It's for everybody. It isn't like we're just reading about warfare. They're based on real battles and real places and his research, but he creates great stories, great, characters, young, old, male, female, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered the books we're going to recommend. Now we're going to look at some books that might be on our bookshelf in the future that are coming out this year.
Well, Dave, when you asked me to pick a book coming out, it was hard to do one of my, what's your favorite book coming out in 2021? So I picked 2. Jane Harper, she's got her new book. Anything that she's written so far, I've absolutely loved it. She writes thrillers, and she's originally from England, but she moved to Australia. So Australia plays a major role in all of her books. She started off with her series with federal agent Aaron Falk in The Dry and Force of Nature. And then she had a standalone title. This is another standalone title. The Survivors is another thriller mystery taking place on the Tasmanian coast. A lot of drama going on, but she knows how to tell a story. So I'm really excited about this one coming up. And then I did have to give a shout out to Melanie Benjamin. She has a new one coming out this month, at the end of this month, and The Children's Blizzard. It's based on a real event that happened, I believe, in 1889, something like that. A sudden blizzard blew up in April, just as school was getting out, and over 230 people were killed in it. But this author, Melanie Benjamin, New York Times bestselling author, did visit the library in Palos Heights a couple years ago. She talked about her writing process. So I know how much research she does for each of her books. So I'm really excited about reading this book and the research that she did and the stories that she can tell. So I got two books I'm excited about coming up
Oh,
shortly.
they both sound good. They might end up on my bookshelf too.
Yeah. What do you
Uh,
have, Dave?
for me, I definitely, probably not a might, will end up on my shelf, is Under a White Sky, The Nature of the Future, The Nature of the Future by Elizabeth Kolbert. I'm really looking forward to this book. It's coming out in February, and it's nonfiction. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning author for her other nonfiction book, The Sixth Extinction, which in that book, she looks at the mass extinction period we're living in right now on the planet. In that book, she explores the causes and humanity's impact on the planet. And a term that I've bumped into so much lately is the Anthropocene, meaning, the period when our human existence is having an impact on climate and our various ecosystems.
Okay.
In this book, she goes, I think, to the next step. She takes a real hard look at the world, the new world we're creating now, humanity's impact on the world. She takes a look at the biologists, the engineers, the researchers, the physicists, who are all trying to find ways to address the environmental challenges and problems we've created, hopefully finding interventions to save the planet. As a side note, she does take a look at the Great Lakes and the Chicago River. And just as a context for this, in The Sixth Extinction, she explores the ways in which our capacity for destruction has kind of reshaped the natural world. In this book, maybe it has a more positive feel to it, because she's going to examine, and Under the White Sky, she's going to examine the various sorts of interventions that might save our planet. Okay. And I know maybe it sounds very, I don't know if it sounds sciencey or technical. She's writing for everybody. She's writing for the regular person. Very, very interesting, very fascinating.
Yeah, she's on a lot of people's reading list this year. So yeah, that one's getting a lot of buzz too.
Good. So those are recommendations. I think we need to mention that some of our previous books, we didn't just read, we did audio versions of that. Can they pick that up at the library? Can they do an audio version of it through the library?
Absolutely. In addition to the physical books that you can come and order, or audio books, we have our digital books you can download for free with your Palos Heights library card. Ebooks that you can read on your tablets or your phones or your Kindle, or you have digital audio as well that you can listen to on your phone, which I'm always listening to a book when I'm riding my bike or cooking in the kitchen or whatever you want to do. So yeah, definitely they can get audiobooks and ebooks without even leaving your house. You can do that from home.
So I'm going to mention that you got me started on this. I now do audiobooks too, but I didn't know how to do it in the beginning. So what if I'm sitting out there, I'm watching, like, yeah, I'd like to do this. How do I get started?
Well, if you have questions about that, you feel free to call the library. We're open Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 9 to 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 to 7, and Saturdays, 10 till 2. Call us during business hours. We were happy to walk you through, to show you how to download the app and get started. And we do that quite a bit. And people have discovered this. They're excited about it, because you can do this, it's like shopping from home. You can do it all by yourself once you learn how to do it. And it's great. So you can do curbside if you want to pick up your physical items, or you have things to fax or print, or you can just, enjoy the digital world as well. So we got lots of things that you can keep yourselves occupied with and enriching your life with, while we're still kind of in this phase of life right now. So.
No, that's wonderful. I will admit, I do like scrolling through the audiobooks, like what's out there, what's available or not, it's fun. It's like looking on a bookshelf,
Yeah. In a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's great to hear that the library is still able to provide so many of the services that they would otherwise. Um, so thank you for being with us today, Janine.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
And you've been watching From My Bookshelf. I'm Dave Wurzel. This is PHTV4. If you would like to recommend a book to us, a title, you can email PHTV4. In the subject bar, you'd type in bookshelf and then put in the book title, the author, the year it was published, a brief description, and we'll pick some of those recommendations that maybe we can share with you in the future. So thank you for watching, and good luck in the new year.